Welcome to Visualize, the podcast where collaboration fuels change. I'm your host, Chris Baker, and each week we'll explore incredible connections between nonprofits, businesses, and the community. This is a space where we highlight inspiring partnerships, uncover strategies for creating meaningful impact, and share stories that show how working together can make all the difference. Whether you're a nonprofit leader, a business owner, or someone just passionate about building connections, this podcast is for you. So welcome back to another episode of Visualize, where we work on collaborations with nonprofits. So we're bringing on for-profit businesses and other nonprofits that collaborate with nonprofits. We want to help them succeed. We want to help them grow. So that's our whole mission here at Visualize. Today I have Drew from Winning Awards.
Winners Award.
Winners Awards.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me a little bit more.
Well, as far as the business goes,
Yeah, please tell me.
Winners Award Group's been around for about 45 years. It started in the golf world, so promotional items, awards, basically anything you could put a logo on at a private country club, that was their niche. And about 21 years ago, the current owners bought it from them, and then they grew the corporate side. So now, instead of 70 or 80% of business being in golf, it's now tennis and other racket sports, and then, professional services, construction. We do a lot of trade show and event work. And then, of course, we have the nonprofits. So we, not that we have not enough to do. We shoot shoot a couple of podcasts out of the showroom, and just had an event the other day for event planners with another guest of yours coming up, Rachel Sherman from TSS Photography. She and I hosted an event in our showroom and fed everybody and showcased some of the sources that we have for different events. And we do work with a lot of nonprofits, which is why you and I originally got introduced. Yeah, exactly.
It was a sad moment that I had to miss that event that you guys had, but
I'll
catch the next one.
The pulled pork sandwiches were excellent.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I made them myself, so I'm biased, but both of my kids requested those for their birthday again this year, so I know I'm doing okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, next time we meet, hopefully you might have a little extra and I can give that a shot.
We can do that. My back deck is open. We got some cigars and some scotch and some tequila out there to sip on, and we'll take care of you, Chris.
Excellent. So, like I just mentioned about the show, it's really about giving nonprofits the next leg up, the next step that can really help them along their journey. And I really want to make sure that there's a connection with the for-profits that are out there, or another nonprofit that could benefit or help them or benefit from them. So part of that collaboration, what are some of the nonprofits that you've had the pleasure of working with and connecting with?
Yeah, I mean, we just started working with 4Kids, which is a foster care charity here in Fort Lauderdale, actually down the street from you, that they are looking to do some really nice favors for one of their events in February called Galentine's. So we're working with them. We're actually sending them some samples of different things that they can do. And they've got a couple of cool ideas, but I can't let the cat out of the bag quite yet. We just did the Children's Harbor and Man Up golf tournaments. Children's Harbor is another foster care facility, and we actually did 85% of the swag. We did the awards. Awesome. We did their T-shirts that they gave out. We did their quarter zips embroidered, and then we also did, and this is the first time we've ever done this, but not only did we give 10% of their bill back to them as a thank you for partnering with us, but we also did that for anything that some of their major sponsors ordered to put in the swag bags. So they had about, I think it was 6 different sponsors that also added something really nice to the swag bag, and then we donated 10% of their bills also back to Children's Harbor.
That's fantastic.
And then same thing with the Man Up golf tournament. That's they're bringing men back to church, and kind of be teaching them to be the head of their household and
Okay.
take care of their family. And with the kind of underlying thing with all the fighting that goes on TV, how about in real life we kind of take care of our own business, and that'll take care of some of the bigger problems.
Let's hope.
So
Yeah.
and you know what, they fund an annual men's conference with this golf tournament, so they bring I think it was like 300 people. They have some guest speakers, and I would describe it as leave the religious part of it out for a second.
Hmm.
I would describe it, and this is my friend Lawrence description that I've stolen or borrowed, I guess, as it's like a full day and a half of motivational halftime speeches,
Okay.
which it's pretty cool. I brought my dad, and he got a huge value out of it. He loved it.
Oh, good.
But yeah, so those are just a few of them. I could keep going,
Yeah.
but I could list charities that we work with. The way that I actually wound up with Winners Award Group was I had just started the On Par podcast, and we talk about golf and business and networking on my
Okay.
podcast. And I came up with the idea, and then serendipitously I met Lou Chiera, the president of Winners Award Group and one of the founders of N.I.C.K S Camp.
Oh, yep.
And he was at this event, that a golf networking event, and he didn't really talk about Winners Award Group much. He talked about the upcoming gala and golf tournament, and I said, hey, look, why don't we do a live one with your board members? I'm not Joe Rogan by any
No.
stretch, but we'll get 80
You
or
get there.
90 or 100 of your target audience that might participate in your gala or your golf tournament. And he was like, I love it, let's do it. And
Awesome.
four lunches later, it turned into let's start working together. So
That's amazing.
it's one of those things where I really do believe that the more good you put out there, the more good happens to you. And whether that's your religion or your spirituality or whatever it is, I think to a certain extent we all believe in the go-giver mentality, which is like give as
Yeah.
much as you can. And yes, it's going to come back, but that's not why you're doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So what motivates you and the company to really work with nonprofits?
Yeah, it's a great question, Chris. So, Nick and Lou lost their father about 34 years ago to cancer,
Oh,
and he was the commissioner of Parks and Recreation up in White Plains, New York, their hometown. So they were trying to kind of get a street named after him or something to, raise awareness. And that was a lot of red tape involved. So
sure.
Lou met the woman from the American Cancer Society at the time. And I don't know what her position or role was, but she said, come to this lunch. She came to the lunch, and they talked about one of the things they talked about was sending kids with cancer to Camp Boggy Creek up in Eustis, Florida, by Orlando. And this place is like the nicest summer camp you've ever seen. Their floors in their cabins look like the floor in my showroom in Coconut Creek. I mean, it's that nice.
Okay.
SeaWorld donated a handicap accessible pool. The Orlando Magic built a basketball court. General Schwarzkopf and Paul Newman started this camp. And I guess every week they have a different theme. Like one week they'll have kids with MS. One week they'll have kids with the cancer, which is N.I.C.K S Camp, which is the camp that we fund
Yeah.
through the Chiera Family Foundation. And then they'll have pick a disease the next week. And unfortunately there's plenty of childhood diseases to choose from. So, and mental health for these kids and
Mm,
their families as they're going through whatever kind of cancer they're going through is just as important as their physical health or
oh,
anything going
yes.
on with them. So yeah, I mean, there's crazy good stories, about like the kids take their bears that are knitted and sewn for them by volunteers home, and they have a positive memory of the camp and the friends they made and the experience they had. So I thought it was really cool, which is why I said, hey, let's do our first live podcast at your charity event, because why the heck not?
Yeah. No. Yeah. That makes a lot
and
of sense.
and but yeah, so that's the reason that Lou and Nick want to partner with all these other charities is because they know, they didn't raise $275,000 their first year, right? No charity, most charities do not.
No, but it takes time,
So,
yeah.
but we work with, I'd say, 30 or 40 different nonprofits as either clients, or we support them, or both, because a lot of times, they'll come to us for their pickleball tournament and
Mhm.
we wind up participating in the tournament or sponsoring, or you just wish you could do more, because now that you're in that world, there's so many different great nonprofits, especially down here in South Florida,
Right,
which I'm sure
100%.
keeps your show going.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're just restarting it back up, but at the same time, but yeah, that's one of the reasons that we're trying to help, because there's so many nonprofits out here that don't have the visibility.
Yeah.
They don't know where to turn. And so hopefully we can point them in a direction like, hey, this is a resource.
Hmm.
These are collaboration partners that are out here in the for-profit businesses that are willing to support and help you in any way possible. Um, and there's then having that conversation, like,
Yeah.
let's open these doors and get more people talking and seeing how that they can build their business, strengthen it, and then just keep them going, because the work that they're doing in the community is so valuable.
Yeah.
Like, there's not enough resources in the government and out here, just generally there. That's why nonprofits start,
Hmm.
is they have to fill the void
Yeah.
that there's a need.
Yeah, I
And
mean, every nonprofit story that I've heard comes down
mhm,
to, we saw this problem. But I mean,
exactly.
that's how for-profit companies start too, right? I mean, we saw this problem and we decided that we could build a better mousetrap, or fix the problem, or explain something to people if their marketing's good enough, I guess, that they didn't understand they needed, until the pet rock came along and went on TV or whatever. But yeah, I mean, businesses are made out of necessity, and nonprofits are not an exception to that.
They're not. And a lot of the nonprofits, the people that they support are the ones that actually can't afford the for-profit businesses.
Hmm.
And so I think that's one of the, the differences, or, they're put in a situation that just,
Yeah.
it's not expected. They don't
No,
need to be, they don't expect to be there, but they happen
and
to
you
fall
still
there.
have to run them like they're a business, right?
That is 100% the trick.
Unless you've got all super dedicated volunteers that are giving their time and
Hmm.
expertise and energy and money, uh, you're gonna have to pay somebody. No matter how passionate they are, they still have to pay their bills.
Exactly.
So you still have to look at the top line, the bottom line, and all the other lines. And we're an expense line item in our business,
Yeah.
right? Hopefully the return on investment for the stuff that we have is, people want to come back just because they got a great signature gift, or something they could use that they use all the time, like a Sherpa blanket or something.
Oh my God.
It's one of those things where, what's your goal with what you're
Yeah.
trying to do here? Are you just trying to, give away a pen so you have something to give away, or do you want something that's not going to get stuck in the ominous pen drawer, or between the couch cushions or the seat cushions in the car?
I remember just a couple weeks ago when I walked into your showroom
Yeah.
that you guys have there, I was blown away. Like, there was just so many things I'm like, I would never throw that away. I would have that on my desk. I would have this here. This would be on my wall.
Yeah.
Like, there was just so many unique different ways that you could do a plaque or a trophy or something that's valuable to
Yeah.
give to a client as a thank you gift. There's just so many amazing things that you had.
And
Go there if you have not
no,
been there.
yeah, thank you for the plug. I appreciate that. No, it is, and I told you before we met, it's a must see. You got
Mhm.
to see the place, and you could go to winnersawardgroup.com and look at it. But it's not the same,
It's not.
and I know you did that because you're a tech guy, so I know you looked at the website before you came, and I'm sure Mo did too. But yeah, you got to come see it, which is why we'll do an event there every 3 to 6 months, and invite some of our clients and referral partners, and it's a fun. I mean, we have clients that come in and order for all of their events for the entire year. And we only see them once a year, but they come in just because they want to still see us and hang out around a bunch of cool awards, like you said.
Oh my gosh,
And
yeah.
it's a great backdrop for the podcast too. I mean, it
Oh,
doesn't hurt
yeah.
doesn't hurt that the room is pretty much soundproof, and we got a bunch of cool stuff to look at, like you said.
So one of the other questions I have, what are some of the key lessons from your company that you have learned that you fostered to successfully partnership with nonprofits?
Give me that one more time,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Chris. That's
So, what are the lessons that your company has learned uh, and fostered to make partnerships successful with
I
nonprofits?
think that probably one of the biggest lessons is that, just because you're a nonprofit doesn't mean you're not going to get solicited by every potential support company, just like you're a for-profit business.
Okay.
And one of the things, like we have that partnership program where we donate 10%
Mm-hmm.
of whatever their bill is back to the nonprofit, because we want to show that we want to partner with you. We're not just looking to collect a check and then, see you next event, hopefully. It's more of a, hey, look, let us bring some value. Let us give you some cool ideas that might actually give meaning to whatever you're giving away
Yeah.
or selling in your corporate store. Right now, we're doing a couple of breweries. We're actually creating all the merch for their customs for their customers for their stores
Okay.
for their brewery where they get the little gift shop there. So whether it be that, but the other important thing is you have to share an interest. Like the people that are sitting on boards that I've been involved with different nonprofits, some of them just are there for the title and the name and they can market it on their website that they're a board member of a charity. But I found that a lot of them don't do a darn thing to help the nonprofit. They'll give you their opinion and at every meeting, but I mean, you look at them and go like, what are you actually doing to help this charity?
Right.
So I think that's got to be one of the biggest. And I've never worked for a nonprofit full time before, just volunteered, and now I'm on the board of Nick's Camp
Okay.
officially, like a couple weeks ago. So thank you.
Congratulations.
So I've been an ambassador. I do the 100-hole challenge for First Tee, where I'm the commissioner, and we get like 30 people to play 100 holes of golf in one day and use it for a
Wow.
fundraiser. So I've done those types of things, but this will be my first board seat.
So, actually, that's actually a good segue. Like, w- I know you guys talk about Knicks, and now you're going to
Yeah.
be on the board. What pushed you to help be on the board? Because that's actually,
Well, so when Lou made the announcement, and I
yeah,
hadn't met Lou before this day, but when he made the announcement that he's got this gala and this golf tournament, and they do it at Broken Sound Country Club, where they hold the Champions League of the PGA, the Timber Tech Champion. I mean, this is places,
yeah,
6 stars if it gets one kind of place,
okay,
and it's a 2-day event and it raises $300,000, and they wrote a check for over $250,000 last year and built a ball field scoreboard for Nick's
wow,
Field of Fun, which will forever be there now. So there's now a scoreboard and like a ball field that they didn't
yeah,
have before because of part of that check. And
that's
that's for
amazing.
all of the kids that go there to enjoy, not just Cancer Week. But when Lou got up and said, hey, we start, and of course, cancer's touched everybody, right? I mean, I've had family members and friends with breast cancer and testicular cancer and prostate cancer and all different types of things. So yeah, I mean, it touches a heartstring, if you will,
Yeah, it does.
lung cancer and different things like that. So I when I walked up to him, I was like, hey, partially self-serving, like we want more ears on our podcast, but let's do it by helping your
Right.
charity. And then I got involved over the last year and a half since I'm working with these guys now full time. It just became like why would I not want to be on this board kind of thing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit more about Nick's.
Yeah. So not in addition to sending 150 kids to summer camp for this week of Cancer Week to Camp Boggy Creek, we also are able to do scholarships for the kids that go into remission or recover from cancer, and then when they go to college or grad school, these guys have actually been doing this so long that some of the kids that they helped when they were campers are now oncologists or social workers
Oh,
helping
wow.
little kids with the same cancer that they had when they were little kids.
So it's all come back full
It's yeah,
circle.
31 years now. I think this is the year 31 for Nick's camp. We also get a grant from the Florida Panthers to teach kids with cancer how to ice skate, and
Okay.
then a partnership with, I mentioned, the First Tee of Broward, where we can bring them in and teach them golf as well. It's like a shortened program because they're going through chemotherapy a lot of times or other treatments, so they're not in a not it's not a 9-week program like the normal program. It might be like a 6-week program or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So, as it's grown, it's not just sending them to camp anymore. It's now, the kids that went to the camp are making a difference for kids that are
Are
dealing
now.
with the same thing they did.
That's
So it was one of those no-brainer situations where it's like there's no downside to helping these guys with this. So, and they want more grants, they want more corporate sponsors. So I'll be talking to you, Chris, because now you got all those resources for us.
that's where I'm hoping to go with all of this.
Yeah.
Um, so what is your long-term vision of how your company is going to collaborate with more nonprofits?
Well, I think what we're going to add this year, and I think I shared this with you already, is I'm starting my own separate nonprofit.
Yeah, you did mention that there was going to be a
So,
start. Yeah.
so in January, there's going to be a couple of things. One thing that we'll do, and it'll be a nonprofit to help other nonprofits, kind of like your show.
Oh, okay.
So the idea is when we do the 100-hole challenge, it may not just be for First Tee anymore. Maybe you can come in from uh, Children's Harbor or For Kids or Man Up or any one
Okay.
of these other Girl Power Rocks or any of these other nonprofits. And of course, we'll start with our clients and friends first and say, hey, look, you know what? We're going to do it as a real contest, charity versus charity. So you pick a charity, Chris, pick a charity, Mo, pick a charity, Rachel, and then you play your 100 holes, and 90% of the money you raise goes to the charity of your choice, and the other 10% is to the main fund.
Yeah, to
Uh,
keep
and
keep
and
going.
the
Okay.
other thing is from these events, a lot of these nonprofits will have leftover merchandise. Where let's say they had 120 golfers for a golf event and only 96 showed up. So now they've got 34 custom speakers with a picture of the golf course and a Man Up logo, for example, in the middle of it. And people have these on their golf bag, and they're like, "Where did you get this?" And they want to buy it, and in order to keep the charities raising the money from the products they've already got sitting in a storage facility, most likely, or one of the board members' garage,
Right.
we actually have a platform being set up right now where they can put those products on the site. And again, 90% of the money,
Goes.
90% of the money is going to go back to the charity, and the other 10% will go to the general fund. So it's going to
Wow.
kind of, add to the 100-hole challenge, which I've already been kind of doing for 5 years. And then also, fixes a problem that some of our like you said, fix a problem, right? They've got these really nice, signature gifts that are
Yeah.
just, a speaker, a hat, a t-shirt, a quarter zip, all of these really nice things. And it's like, well, you're going to have board members that want them. You're going to have ambassadors that want them.
Correct.
You're going to have people that like golf but didn't play in that particular tournament because they were traveling, or they really wanted to be at your gala but they couldn't make it to the gala because their wife was sick and they were in the hospital that day. So the idea is, why would you want your stuff to just sit there when it's got value? And let us just do it for you, because they don't want to pay another person on full-time staff to do you know to
No,
do that.
I mean, and that comes down to your bottom line. You got to make sure that that's
Yeah.
something you can afford, and most nonprofits are not at that space. So
Yeah.
having
So
this opportunity,
2025 is the year we ramp it up with those two extra things.
that's amazing. I think
Yeah.
that's going to be very valuable for
We're
a
gonna
lot of
have some
nonprofits.
fun with it too. I mean,
And
because
that's
we're
what
already
the
we're already packing and shipping stuff back there every day anyway. So what's an extra 30 speakers or 20 hats or whatever it is. So And again, like you said, we're helping the nonprofits that we're already friends with them. We're already
Right.
doing, we're already going to their events. We're already sponsoring their charities in some way or whatever we can do. So having them on the podcast and let them, bring awareness to their events. And it's not just golf tournaments anymore. We'll talk about other stuff too, but
Yeah.
originally, because golf is part of the
Uh,
shtick, it
So
made sense.
we're talking about your podcast. Tell me more. What is
S-
your
So
podcast?
the On Par podcast, I was shooting some videos to help the fundraisers for the 100 hole challenge, and Sean Kicker, my golf coach, my friend, the director, well now former director of First Tee of Broward, says, "Man, Drew, you're doing great at these videos. You should have a podcast." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I should have a podcast." And he goes, "No," he goes, "Really, like I think people will listen." And he goes, "We could even make it like, I'm like the golf knowledge and you're the guy asking the questions, and then we can talk about what's going on in the world of golf and all this other." I said, "Well, the only other thing I can talk about is how good it is for networking." And he goes, "Oh, we can add that." So now it's like we should have a podcast. So, that's kind of evolved. Sean's actually just recently taken a new change in his career. So he's going to be a guest on the podcast when he can.
Okay.
But I'm going to keep it going. We usually have guests on there to talk about golf and business and networking. And
Very
if there's
important.
a charity golf event coming up, we want to promote it on the On Par podcast, and we won't charge you for that
That's excellent.
privilege. So it actually led, I had Vince Bell, who was running the Pompano Kappa's golf tournament with some other Pompano Kappa's members. And he and the president of the chapter came in for a podcast, and Vince and I just clicked amazingly. So now we started a second podcast called Podcast Twins.
Yes, I have heard of that.
And Podcast Twins is much more broad. We will talk about anything. I think, the second or third episode, Vince asked me if I got my COVID jabs, and that, went down a rabbit hole conversation. And then another one, I had heard Vince mention that he didn't think the moon landing was real. So I think we were on the golf course when he said that. And I was like, let's talk about that. So I don't know. Maybe next we'll talk about God, or who knows what other wildly, let's say, can be deemed as controversial topic we'll come up with next.
Fair enough.
We have an episode coming out, and maybe it'll already be out by the time this episode launches. But he came to my house and made a studio in my kitchen, and we cooked deep dish pizza together. That's not a joke. That's a real episode
That's
coming
real.
up on Podcast Twins.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I got a couple more questions.
Yeah, please.
And the first one actually is right before we wrap up. What is one piece of advice or inspiration that you can leave to our audience today?
I would say that, especially for the younger audience, I used to be in headhunting and recruiting for quite a number of years, and I noticed that the younger the candidate, the less nonprofit work they were involved
Mm,
in general. And I think that the best possible way for you to network your way into the right job is working with nonprofits.
ooh, that's a good piece of advice.
Because you're going to, let's say you're passionate about saving stray dogs. If
Yep.
you get involved in a saving stray dogs charity, you're going to meet other people that are really passionate about saving stray dogs. And you're going to get to like them faster, and they'll like you faster, and they'll want to help you. And when you need your first job or your second job because your first job sucks, then you can ask your network. And I really believe that the best way to build a network of like-minded people, if you're not playing golf with them,
Fair enough.
is get involved in a nonprofit you care about. And I mean, look, these kids need service hours to graduate from high school anyway. You might as well go do something you enjoy.
Right. You got to pick something that's actually
Yeah,
going to give you
I like
joy.
I
Yeah.
loved basketball when I was a kid. That's
Okay.
all I played. And when I realized I was too short, too slow, and not big enough to play in college, I started coaching youth basketball. I coached 7 and 8-year-olds when I was in high school, and that's how I got my service hours. And I thought it was a blast, and I made friends with some of the parents, and it was a great opportunity. And I think one of them actually introduced me to somebody that was going to give me a job opportunity at a certain point. So, you know, don't apply to 100,000 jobs a day. Go do some good work, and it's like they tell you, like, go do something you love and the money will come, which we'll see if that's true or not. But uh it's one of those things where it's like, go do stuff with people that you think you're gonna be around, because they're gonna think the same way you do and like the same things you do,
Oh,
and then build the relationships.
it opens up doors. It
Build the
definitely does. It builds
relationships.
up doors. All right. So one of the last. So thank you so much
My
for coming on
pleasure.
the show.
Thank
So
you.
one last question: how do they contact you if they want to work with,
Yeah,
winners
if
award?
you want to do something with Winners Award Group or N.I.C.K Camp for that
Yep.
matter,
Or next group. Yeah.
Winners Award Group, we're right in Coconut Creek. You can go to winnersawardgroup.com. The phone number, my email is simple. It's drew@winnersawardgroup.com, so I'm easy to track down. I'm also the only Andrew D. Alberto on the earth, so if you want to Google me, you'll probably learn more than you want to. But I can't hide. If my name's on there, I'm the only one.
What's the phone number that they could reach you at?
754-207-2906 for call or text.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming on the show, Visualize, and we're here to help, make a difference in the nonprofit community, one collaboration at a time.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Visualize. We hope that the inspiration and practical insights can help you foster stronger connections and meaningful change. Don't forget to subscribe, share the episode, and leave us a review. To learn more about Visuals by Momo and how we support collaboration and storytelling, visit visualsbymomo.com. A huge thank you to everyone out there listening. Until next time, remember, collaboration fuels change, and your connections can inspire the world.